Hello, in this video I'm going to show you the Makita DSS611 circular saw that I've just bought, and I'm going to put it through its paces. Just to give this review a context, I'm a DIY and tinkerer type bloke. I'm not a professional, I'm not a tradesman. So this, this is based on my own situation. I had a corded circular saw, a DIY store own brand one, for years and years and years, probably 20 years, and it ran absolutely beautifully until the moment that it gave up last week. So I decided to replace it. I have got a larger one that I use for bigger projects, but it's quite nice to have a little lightweight saw. And as I've already got some Makita drills, and so therefore of course chargers and batteries, I thought it might make sense to buy a cordless circular saw. So I looked at the various saws that they do, and I went for the entry-level model. Not just because it was the cheapest one, but because, although I must admit that did have a bearing on it, of course, but because I kind of thought, well, the saw that I had was so much lower in specification, despite being a 240 volt one, and it did the job perfectly well for me, that the Makita entry-level model would most likely suffice. Let's get it out of the box and see what we got. Well, obviously, we've got the saw itself and a fence. That's a metal one. That's quite nice. And a little, I guess that's a little dust extractor attachment, and some instructions. So a quick scan through those. Okay then, let's have a closer look at the saw. First of all, this little tube that I suspected was for connection to dust extraction system, and that goes onto here, onto the side. There's a screw to take out there, and a corresponding hole there, so that screws onto there to enable you to attach it to a hoover or whatever. I'm not going to put that on for the time being. And the fence goes into this little slot on the side here, you can see that, and is locked in place by this little knob here. That seems pretty good, it's very solid. I'm going to take that out for the time being, just in case I damage that. Let's pop that back down again. Additional controls that we've got on the saw. Here we've got a lever which releases the plate on the bottom, and that enables you to change the depth of the blade cut. Like that. So let's leave that back in its full position there for maximum depth. And additionally, another lever on the front here for the purpose of cutting bevel type cuts. So there, that's pulled across to 45 degrees, for example. Put that back to 90 for now. Just holding this slightly awkwardly to show you this, but there's a lever here which allows you to withdraw the bottom cover over the blade, keeping your fingers well away from the blade. That seems really good. If I turn it around this way, operator type position, I'm operating that with my left hand, and that seems really straightforward. The trigger that starts the motor and runs the saw has got a safety device, so I can't pull that, can't pick the saw up, for example, and accidentally pull the trigger without pressing down on this little lever here. Press there, and then pull on the trigger, and then you can actually release that one at that point. It stays down, locked in place, while you hold the trigger to run the saw. And as I release this, the trigger, you should see that pop up. There it goes, and then it's locked again. So what about the actual construction of the saw? Well, it's the usual sort of Makita high standard, I would say. The base plate is made of quite a heavy duty casting. Looks like it's cast aluminium, and it's been milled or machined on the bottom. I'm not sure how well that shows up, to give a nice flat surface, and you can kind of see the thickness of that. Seems like that would take quite a lot of abuse. The cover around the top of the saw blade area is a similar material, and the rest of the housing is the usual thermoplastic with this rubberized material on the grip areas. So on the whole, it all looks pretty substantial. One thing I did notice is that this safety cover around the bottom of the blade here is plastic. It's feels like quite a brittle plastic. I suppose time will tell as far as that's concerned. Blade size is 165mm, that's 6.5 inches in American, I think, and it comes with this tungsten carbide tip blade. With the saw set at 90 degrees, that gives you a maximum cutting depth of 57mm, which is 2.5 inches, and at 45 degrees that will give you 40mm, which is about 1.5 inches, I think, and at 50 degrees 36mm, which is 1.75 inches. Sorry, I'm not very good at imperial. According to the specifications, the weight is between 2.9 and 3.2 kilo. That depends on what size battery you put on. 3.2 would be with a 5 amp hour battery on it. I've got a 3 amp hour battery here. Pop that on there. So that's going to be about 3 kilos. Very comfortable to hold. 3 kilo being, what's that, about 7.5 pounds, something like that. This is a nice little touch. There's a 5mm Allen key included, and it sits in this little recess here, and that's the key that you need to take out the spindle to replace the blade. I think that covers all of the specifications, and hopefully gives a bit of an overview of the tool. I've got a battery here that's fully charged. This is a 3 amp hour because those are the only type that I've got. Pop that on, and let's give it a try. This is an old internal door that I took out of the house recently, and I saved it. It's not a particularly nice thing, but it's solid pine, and I thought that the 2 side rails might be useful for something, perhaps in the garage. So this seems like an ideal opportunity to cut those down and try out the new saw. The door's about 35mm thick, so I've put the saw on the side there with the fence lifted up and obviously the battery off, so I don't have my fingers off, and then I've released the lever for the base plate and lifted it up a bit so that all that's protruding through the bottom is 1 tooth depth, if you like, and that is a recommendation made in the instructions. I fitted the guide fence, and don't know how well you can see that, but you can just make out the join in the door and the 0 point that marks the edge of the saw blade. So hopefully I can cut this just inside of the beading on the glass there. Well, that certainly made light work of that. Oh, it's a nice straight cut. Very good. Excellent. Ooh. Look at that. It's caught the edge of the glass there. That could have been nasty. I don't know if how well that showed up, but I went slightly off course at the end there, and that was my fault for not keeping the fence against the side of the work, so it drifted off slightly that way. This bottom section of the old door is a bit thicker, so I've decided to try putting the saw this way around with the fence on this side, and see how I get on that way around. I found that having the fence on that side was easier. Maybe it's because I'm right-handed. I'm naturally inclined to push in that direction, so I think in future I shall bear that in mind. In this scenario, the fence is actually underneath the base plate, and so out of view, but I think I should be okay with that. That didn't take many minutes. I've got to say that's pretty impressive. On that very last cut where I was cutting through this bottom bit, it started to labour a bit around here, and looking at the wood, it doesn't look like there's anything particularly hard there, so I think that maybe just been that battery starting to slow down a bit, but I think on the whole that's pretty good. As I said at the beginning, this review, such as it is, was really just to see whether this little Makita cordless circular saw was a good replacement for the corded one I had before, and the answer to that is most definitely yes. It's much better than the old corded thing I had before. It cuts fast and clean and accurately, assuming that you follow the fence properly and don't wander off like I did, but that's entirely operator error. The controls are nice, very positive. I like the trigger, and I like its safety catch. That works really well. The lever to move the base plate is very easy and positive. It's the same mechanism for the mitre positioning one on the front, which I haven't actually used myself, but I can't imagine that would be in any way less effective. The knob that operates the fence, again, works brilliantly. It generally just feels really nice. I didn't actually use the lever to pull the guard back, but you know, that feels great. And in terms of you know, actually holding the tool, it just feels really nice in your hands. It feels safe. Two-handed operation is obviously preferable, but at times you would have seen me take this hand away and just drive it with the one hand, and I was quite happy with that. Yeah, on the whole, I think that's a great little tool. In terms of how much it drains the battery, this 3 amp hour has you know, virtually been flattened. I don't really know whether that's good or bad. I don't have anything to compare it to. You saw the amount that I cut there on 3 amp hours, and you can see on that final cut it was starting to slow down. Don't know whether that's good or bad. It's perfectly adequate as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, on the whole, do I recommend that for you know, for DIY purposes? Yes, I do. As I say, if you're a professional or a tradesman, you'll have different criteria, but it gets a thumbs up from me. And talking of thumbs up, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and like it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, then I would be very grateful if you did. There's a few other Makita videos on there if you're interested in that kind of thing. And please write a comment below telling me what you think of the tool, what you think of the video. I'm very interested to hear. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.